Good evening, everyone. Namaste to all the parents, children, and others guests who are present here for this discussion. This is a very important day for us to know that what is happening in our sector, our field of work, passion, living, whatever you say, is education field. There's a massive change. We are learning and listening a lot about national education policy. What is it after all? Why we need to know about this policy? Anyway, our children are going to school. The school should take care of it. Why the parents need to know, why the children need to know. The teachers will tell what to do and we will all do it. Simple. Then why all these arrangements, all these videos what we are sending for so many days by our chairman? We are asking Google through Google Forms to for your doubt clarification. So many questions we are receiving. Why all this? Today is the first step for us to understand why national education policy should be an intelligible topic for all of us to practice, to carry on, and to nurture our children. It is very important for us to know that the system has changed, and change is the only constant thing. If we are not changing, we are stagnant. If we are stagnant, we are becoming a burden. And if we are burdened, we are really a problem to the society. So let us all join hands together to understand this national education policy through our discussion today as much as possible. So I invite our honorable founder and chairman, Mr. Chaitanya, to answer why we should know the national education policy. Over to you.
Namaste and a very good evening to everybody. I really appreciate you taking time for this very important activity of trying to understand NEP, which is celebrating its 1 year of inception. It's 1 year's anniversary of NEP already. So it's not new. It's 1 year old already. Well, the education policy was revamped after 3 decades. So answering the question why we should know about it, first let me give the perspective that for last 3 decades, we were under the education policy and only now it has changed, which itself means a lot. What does it mean? First, it was launched in the era where there was no internet, where managing data was so tough. It was launched in an era where the requirement of industry for work was very different. There was mundane jobs. There were very specific jobs of bankers, engineers. There were clear streams, humanity. But today, the kind of job opportunities which have come up are too new for many of us to even comprehend. Such jobs exist. So the new education policy is a national level policy which tries to guide the education system so that we produce citizens after a decade or two who will be relevant to that era, to that generation, by forecasting from now, having understood the ability of internet, ability of today's job opportunities. The NEP is trying to forecast what can possibly happen, the artificial intelligence, what can possibly happen, and trying to prepare our country to be prepared for it. So it's a massive change what we are talking about. So this will define our country after a decade or so. It is rightly said that the country is groomed and carved inside the classroom. So it's very important to have the right policies to groom them right so that they will be relevant when they go forward. Overnight, we can't win a lot of Olympic medals. Maybe a decade before, a lot of things have to change so that we also become like US or China, where a lot of medals were won. So a lot of many years of backup training is needed, and that's what NEP is trying to do. And so it's very important for everybody to know, because everything will change. We need to first unlearn the way we studied our education system. That has to be unlearned, and the new way, new outlook has to be adopted. Whether it's CBSE or ICSE, whether it's pre-primary or whether it's graduation, undergraduation, doctorate, everything is going through a massive change. And very soon, some of them have already happened. Some significant ones are happening, and a lot of them are on pipeline. So it is extremely important for parents to know where the education system is moving, so that if you want to think of choosing a school, choosing a college, you know what to expect. If I have to make it a little lighter, I must say, if you want to even scold your child that you're not doing well, you should know what is considered as doing well now. Are you getting me? You should know what to expect from your child so that you can at least do, you're not doing well or you're doing well, all this comparison. So this as an opening statement, I would be very happy to take some questions. Over to Joyita. Sorry, you're muted, madam.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the introduction of why we should know NEP as a parent. The second thing is that when we were going to school, the classes were constructed like first to 10th standard, then 11, 12, and then the graduation and so on. Now, in this NEP, how does the reconstruction happen? If you can, put some light on it, because many parents have that doubt. So I'm not, asking any one of them to speak. How does the NEP has reconstructed the system of classes? How is it divided now?
Yes, a very, very valued question. NEP has totally reconstructed this 10 plus 2 concept. First standard to 10th standard of schooling and 11th and 12th of college. It has completely restructured it. And what it has proposed is, first add pre-primary into Indian education system, which was never there. So till now, pre-primary was not a part of education system at all. Education system, RTE, started from first standard age 6 only. Now the pre-primary from the age 3 is considered as a part of Indian education system. And it has divided the entire education system of pre-primary to 12th standard in the formula called as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. 5 years includes 3 years of pre-primary and first and second standard. So this is called as foundation years. And then the next 3 years of education called preparatory, that is third, fourth, and fifth is preparatory. 6th, 7th, and 8th, the next 3 years is called as middle. 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 years is called as secondary. Yes, 11th and 12th are no more colleges. It's a part of schooling. And the 9th to 12th is a part of it. So I don't want to go too much in detail, but I want to give you a bird's view. Adding pre-primary into our education system is a very big move, because that is the age where children learn a lot. Needless to say that a child who is aged 4 is a lot more capable of learning than me. Capable. By capability, the child is humongously capable than what I am capable of. So to catch the child young, the big move of trying to take pre-primary into the folds of Indian education system is a very welcome thing. So all the so-called pre-primary schools which were mushrooming up without much rules and regulations and stuff like that will now come under rules and regulation. I don't know the implication of it. NEP is by principle advised every state to adapt. So these schools, these pre-primary schools, that kids, did kids and all those stuff would come under rules and regulations now. It's something I forecast in the near future of a year or two. Now let me fast forward it to the high school. When we were going to school, or till now, even till now, only in 11th, children have a choice to choose the subject. Till then, it's the standard subject which all students must go through: Kannada, English, Math, Social Science. It's mandate. But now, by taking 9th to 12th as one bunch, that option is given in 9th standard. Let me reframe. That option is now proposed to be given in 9th standard. So by 9th standard itself, children can choose whether they want to get into humanity, whether they want to get into technical, whether they want to choose some subject, give up some subject. So the choice is given very early. I want to always keep putting this footnote. This is a proposal, and each board and each state will have to adapt it. Maybe in a year or two, the states will come in line, the boards will come in line. So if your child is studying in 6th or 5th, be assured that your child's 9th standard is going to be a lot different. He or she will choose subjects. If he's not interested in mathematics, maybe he will give up at 9th standard itself. And if he wants to perceive, let's say, a particular art, like drawing or a sport, he can make that a subject too in very 9th standard. So these are some great opportunities which are coming up, for which we need to be geared up. So can I have a parent coming in with a question, please?
Yeah, I would like to ask Mr. Vinay Ulal to unmute himself. The kind of question he is going to ask has already been asked by many parents, namely Ruth VA, same 2 RPC, and then Mr. Sandeepa and Aravaditya for standard mothers. Like that, many people have asked the same kind of questions. So I would like to ask Mr. Vinay to pose the questions.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir. Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening.
We both have a French beard, so we match.
Probably I got inspired by you, can say that.
Thank you. I have been inspiring. Please go on.
Yeah, you always been. So my question was, is there only change in the syllabus, or there is going to be a change in the methodology? Are they going to include any soft skill trainings like that during this, any new coming up NEP? That was my question, actually.
Perfect, sir. Beautiful. Thank you. First of all, yes, you have already understood and you made a statement that the syllabus will change. I want to elaborate that in detail for the benefit of everybody. NEP is proposing reduction in curriculum across all standards. Let me give you this example. We always knew that if a child was studying abroad, if he comes back, he will find it very tough to cope with the content curriculum of our country, because we always believed in more is merrier. So our curriculum was always vast, our syllabus was always vast, our information was always vast. And NEP is trying to say that because of that, teachers will have to rush in their teaching methodology to complete the curriculum. Students will have to rush. The whole idea of rushing will make people get into rote learning. So a very big move, they're trying to say, reduce the content so that teachers have enough time to dwell on the understanding of the subject than trying to cover the voluminous syllabus. And children will also get into the depth of it, not just the surface and width of it. So the teaching methodology definitely will change drastically, simply because there is more scope for teachers to ask higher order question and develop higher order thinking. So when you ask the question, will the teaching methodology change? Answer is yes. The teaching methodology will be largely changed. NEP wants to move from rote learning, knowledge-based learning to other skills. Memory is also a skill.
Yeah.
So beyond memory, it is talking about other skills like creativity. Children should develop creativity. To develop creativity, content has to be less so that you have time to easily think and be creative. Critical thinking, so that you think about the pros and cons, the application, you analyze things, which are all the needed skills beyond just remembering.
Yeah.
So it is also changing the assessment pattern, where it says the questions will be asked on understanding, not on memory. What I mean is there won't be a direct question, when did it happen, more than asking when and where and how, then what. Questions will be on how else, why not, so that children will be made to think. So this is the major change they're trying to bring in the curriculum so that the pedagogy would change. They are concentrating on the skill development inside the child. When I say skill, it's not necessarily only pottery or painting or art, visual arts or something like that. They are very clearly trying to say that inside the head, the creativity, the critical thinking, understanding, the concentration should go there. That means if a question is asked, every student must be able to attempt in his capability. His capability might vary, but he should be able to be capable of answering that question. A child who is able to memorize well should not necessarily be the one who is doing great. So this is a very big move they are trying to bring in. The practicality could be how they're going to make it practical is a very big question mark, but an amazing move in education. Yes, Mr. Vinay, do you have a follow-up question on it? I think you've been muted. If in case you have a follow-up question, you can raise your hands and maybe, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Vinay.
Yeah. No, I don't have any other questions. I just wanted to know. Thanks for enlightening us.
Thank you. Big word. Yes, madam.
Yes. The next question comes from many of our high school parents. So I would like to call Mrs. Geeta Kariyappa from 9th standard, Vaishnav's mother, to ask the question.
Hello.
Yes.
Audible, right? Yeah. Okay, actually, my question was, will it affect the 10th standard student? Because Vaishnav is in 9th standard. So, like we are having now only pandemic, due to this pandemic issue, they have online classes, which they are not affordable. As far as I know, they're not up to the mark. When we were studying, right, we had a lot of things to do. And because of this issue from 2 years, I don't know what they are studying and what is going to their head. And now we are scared again, what will that bring time to? Because again, the question raises to us is like, as a parent, as we are more tense than them.
No, madam.
Again, this
thank you for the question. I can totally understand the insecurity, what it can bring in. To be very honest, what Corona has done is another story for online and stuff. But your other question, what you said, something new is coming. So would it cause for any anxiety? I don't think NEP would create any anxiety in parents or students. It is actually meant to do exactly otherwise. It is meant to bring in some reliefs into students and into parents. The only thing is, yes, as I was trying to say, that parents and students must understand what is the new expectations very well. And new expectation is extremely student-centric, extremely for the benefit of students, so which indirectly means benefit of parents. So new need not be leading to any panic. That is some assurance I would like to give. I will give you some examples to make you probably have a relief in you. First thing, you can already see a big move what, for instance, CBSE has done by adapting NEP and has moved to semester exams. Because you said you want to know more about board exams, I would like to elaborate. It has moved to semester exam. That means first semester is one exam, second semester is another exam. Second semester has got nothing to do with first semester. So which itself is a very big move in trying to make board exams quite easy for students. Which means if a student's current 10th standard which passed out, a senior to your child, would have studied the entire year's syllabus to take the board exam, whereas your child would probably be taking it in two halves. At least that is what has happened to the existing 10th standard batch. They have divided into two and they have proposed the same to 9th standard. NEP proposes that high-stake examinations must be reduced. What is high-stake examination? Final exam, board exam, midterm exam. These examinations which will decide the child's, which will brand the child over few hours, over few days, is very much leading to a lot of anxiety into students. I always, even now, you believe it or not, I wake up with a nightmare thinking I have a board exam and I have missed it or I have not studied for it. And then suddenly I realize, no, it's okay. I've done with it. I don't have to have that anxiety. Because board exam and fear were so much associated. So NEP very clearly writes that the fear from the examination has to be moved. So this is where parents and students must understand this very well. If the fear of examination is moved, the idea of NEP is that is when children will concentrate on learning. Now what is happening? Learning is happening for examination. That's what happened with you. That's what has happened with me. And that is what is happening till last year. Slowly, not very slowly, in a year or two, they want to move to a system where there is no fear of examination. And they can do that. They also proposed how they can remove the fear of examination. First, instead of having one examination in a year, try to have at least 2 or 3. So that is kind of divided. If I have to use the word, the pressure is distributed across the year. You don't feel you need to prove within 3 hours. You can prove it probably over 9 hours, 3 plus 3 plus 3. I'm just making up. So that is a move what they have suggested. And they have also told that the curriculum must be reduced. Moment you make it semester wise, the curriculum get reduced for board examination. They specifically use this word called the board examinations must be made easy. Easy is the word being used in the policy. Just to say that if it is made easy, then children will not have fear. Then they can concentrate on learning, not on scoring. There's a world's difference. I'm sure most of us did study those chapters well where more marks weightage was there. That simply meant to say that we studied for examination, not for the sake of learning. And after 30 years, education, Indian policy realizes that this problem of trying to study for examination is making children less interested in learning itself, which is a very sad story, and cause of which they are not trying to be innovative. Inventions are becoming very, very less. The contribution from our country is very less. Creativity is getting snubbed. So they want to ease out the fear of exams so that people can be more into learning, going into deep, exploring, trying to acquire skills like collaborative skills by collaborating with each other, creativity skills and critical thinking skills so that they can work on all these aspects. They also say, to conclude, the examination must only concentrate on core essential of the subject. What is the core essential of mathematics? Let the exams restrict to that. It says this, I am repeating the words written. Children need not put a special effort to prepare themselves for examination. As long they are studious and sincere throughout the year, they should be able to do well in their board exams. That is a line from the policy. So that is the direction in which they are heading. Thank you, madam. I will take the next question.
We have received some questions in chats also. So Mr. Arun Kumar has asked that, can you explain us more about studying pre-primary in regional language? Mr. Gajendra, who is present here, his question is also something about mother tongue and the exam. I would request Mr. Gajendra to unmute himself and ask the question so that we can combine these two questions together. Mr. Gajendra, please.
Yeah. Thanks, ma'am. As the same question, see, currently we used to have 2 languages or 3 languages in every school, and kids or like either me, when I was studying, I used to have like English, Hindi, Kannada. So now with the NEP change, right? The children have to learn so many languages, or if they want to be in Kannada, Kannada is the mother tongue. So how would Kannada would be encouraged here?
Beautiful, sir. Thank you. The thing is, we always had 3-language policy in our country. NEP has also retained the 3-language policy. But the third language, whatever the language could be, was starting from 5th standard in, let's say, CBSE. Till then, it used to be 2 languages. In 5th standard, suddenly you may remember you take up Sanskrit or you take up another language in 5th standard, and you actually give it up at 8th standard. Basically, there was an unscientific approach there. Right now, if you want to teach me French, it's going to be very tough because my ability to learn a new language is very minimum now. But whereas a child who is 2.5, 3 years can pick up the language just like this. So they have tweaked it, the same 3-language policy scientifically, and have said it should start from pre-primary or at least first standard, the third language, 3 languages. So that is a scientific move they have done, which, for example, in Chitrakoota we follow. Right from M2, in the pre-COVID years, we used to have 3 languages, most likely Kannada, English, and Hindi. So 3 languages used to be there, and we always had Kannada because we specifically asked, being from Karnataka, we always have from pre-primary to 10th standard, 1 mandatory language as Kannada. That is something they need to have. They have a choice to have it as second language or third language. The same thing is upheld in NEP now by trying to say the liberty is given to the state to decide what are the 3 languages they would wish to have. But they need to ensure that 2 of the 3 languages are Indian languages. It cannot be Spanish, English, and German. 2 languages must be Indian language, and 1 can be a foreign language. Need not be English. It could be another language also. That's what they meant to say. So they have retained the 3-language policy, but they have started from an early age, and they have given the choice for both state and the student to choose what language he would like to select. As long he has 2 Indian languages, most likely the state would impose 1 regional language because each state will adapt NEP in its own way. So that is a welcome move of taking pre-primary into fold of NEP and starting language very early. Thank you, Mr. Gajendra, for the question. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, my next question, actually, it is asked by many people in different ways. I would like to ask 2 people to unmute and ask one by one. One is, I think, M3 NDH Naksh Dadwar's father, Dr. Ram Gopal Dadwar. So, sir, you can pose your question, and after that, Mrs. Supriya, I would like to ask you your question. Yes.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, sir.
I am audible, sir.
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
My children are missing Chitrakoota.
So are we.
Very much. My question is, what are the advantages of NEP? Because my children are in UKG and one is M1. So after 10 or 15 years, 11 years, we don't know what will be this one. Just I wanted to forecast. I wanted to know the forecast of this.
Thank you for the question, sir. I think we'll take the question of Avani as well.
Mrs. Supriya, yes.
Supriya, Avani's mother, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good
Very
evening.
good evening.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, actually, my question was, what would be the role of parents in guiding the children under NEP? Would it be challenging? Because the methodology what we have learned was totally different, I think. So will it be challenging for under NEP?
Could be. To start with, it demands a right understanding, because anything new would start with the right understanding. So if parents have right understanding, if students have right understanding, I want to repeat the word that the new education policy is extremely student friendly, extremely student centric, extremely scientific, extremely relevant to today. So it is a very sensible move from the government. Now, asking the question, what are the advantages? I was telling some time back, I will repeat. I will repeat in the benefit of everybody, more so to Dr. Ram Gopal. First thing, we are talking about removing rote learning from our education system, which I think is a very big move. And we have so much got used to it. I don't know how well, how quickly will we be capable of moving away from this dirty job of rote learning. So NEP is talking about stop by hearting and move to understanding, move to analysis. So this is one very big move, one very big advantage, if I must say, that our children going forward will be discouraged with the concept of rote learning. The second thing is the options what children would get. NEP says there should not be clear demarcation between academics, non-academics, curricular and co-curricular. I would like to elaborate this. That means right now we have academics, some subjects, they have certain priorities. We have sports, which is taken as non-academics, which almost doesn't come in the report cards. It's insignificant. We have co-curricular, we have dance, drama, visual arts, performing arts, and all these things. They also take a very little space in the marks card or report cards, because there is a clear demarcation between all these things. New education policy is trying to say that these demarcations must slowly be wiped away. A child should be able to give the same priority. If he's giving to a sports, let's say basketball, he must give the same priority as mathematics, and somehow the report card should be capable of accommodating all these things. This is very philosophical, very theoretical at this point in time, but 2-3 years down the lane, it's going to be reality in its own way. Okay, so this is a very big move they are trying to talk about. The options given to students is enormous. That's where I said it's child-centric. In the very ninth standard, the child can choose which subject he would like to pursue and probably give up which subject he does not want to pursue. Isn't it welcome? It is in ninth standard, a child can choose the major and minor of a particular subject. What does it mean? Let's say I wish to do math, but not as much as I wish to do, let's say, humanity subjects like social, history, geography, and stuff. So I can take a tougher question paper in humanity, but mathematics, let's say, for example, I can take an easier question paper, minor paper of mine. And it can vary, it can be social for someone else. That means that convenience is given to students to choose where they want to take up, what they want to pursue more seriously. And this is expected to happen in a couple of years. So if your child is in 6th or 7th standard, most likely he will be beneficiary of this amazing thing called as choosing which one he would like to pursue more deeply. Even the board examinations, one, it happens in a couple of installments, but beyond that, if in case the child misses an examination, They're proposing to have a compartment examination soon after it so that the child can prove himself to be better after a month without losing a year, or improve his grades if he thinks that he was worthy of more or he was capable of more. That means I need to prove myself within this 1 week is somewhere trying to be tweaked. And more opportunities are given to students so that they can try to do it again and again and prove themselves. So in these many various ways, a lot of advantages are imposed. Above all, the concept of reducing the curriculum and trying to make it skilled based, trying to give more priority to skills, means our report cards also must contain the skills. The child has to be evaluated based on skills. We need to impart skills into the child. How to be a team player is a very important skill, collaborative skill, which is as important as social studies. And that scope is generated to give that importance to it. So that is what a new NEP is saying. So it's a very vast question Dr. Ram Gopal posed. What are the benefits? These are very few low-hanging fruits I'm trying to say as of now, but there are many more proposed, not only in schooling. You talk about your undergraduation. Karnataka is the first state to implement NEP in undergraduation. I can elaborate it a little for the benefit of all. Now what happens? Currently what is happening? Children who are getting enrolled to undergraduation after finishing their 12th, right this year onwards, have a choice to choose subjects beyond the basic stream. That means they may choose, let's say, math, physics. With that, they can choose philosophy, which had never happened earlier. Okay, you can choose varied subjects from different places. That scope is generated. Beyond all that, a new system called as score credit, mark credit system is generated, which means to say that if you study 1 year of your degree out of, let's say, 3 years, you get certain credits, certain marks, which is stored in your digital locker, which can be used and encashed throughout your life. That means you can do 1 year of your degree, then take 2 years gap, do something else in life. If you, for example, if there is something pressing, come back and continue, your credits will continue. So this is something which was there in Western countries for many, many years, very many years, where that's where you always saw children taking a break in between their education to understand what they would wish to pursue. So that option is brought back and is already implemented in Karnataka. We are having teething problems in implementation. So in a year or two, I think it will be very easily full-fledged implemented. And after 1 year, if you leave your course, you get a diploma. If you leave you get a certificate. After 2 years, if you leave a course, you get a diploma certificate. After 3 years, you leave that course, you get a degree. You do your 4th year, you get your post-graduation. You can continue further to do your doctorate. So a lot of such new things are being proposed in NEP. So these are few low-hanging fruits. So something very, very evident, I tried to say, but there is a lot more than what our eyes meet. We'll take up the next question, please.
Yeah, I think with this question, we have received one more question in chat box from Mrs. Deepthi Prashant. She has asked that we define education as the overall development of a personality, all spheres of it, but ironically, we are now educating to produce specialized market-driven products. I can't think of any other item, other term. And if a child chooses to specialize as early as in 9th standard, what about the relevance of the above definition from a knowledge-based society to a skill-based society? Actually, I feel that yes, there is the dilemma of the parent. I feel.
Can you kindly repeat the last 2 lines for me?
Yeah, if a child chooses to specialize as early as ninth standard, what about the relevance of the above definition? Question mark. From a knowledge-based society to a skill-based society.
If the child is trying to specialize, that means he is trying to have specialized skills, acquire specialized skills to do that. And we are moving away from knowledge-based society. That is a very idea premise of NEP, to move towards skill-based society. What they are trying to do is, if in case children get to choose what they like to study, they would give their heart and soul to go to the depth of it and acquire the needed skill and knowledge about it. If the child is forced to study the subjects because they are mandate, then he may get into rote learning. So that's the reason choice is given. And the choice is not, I'll give you my own example. This is too early for schooling, but yet probably you can understand what kind of change we are talking about. When I started doing my mechanical engineering, in the second year, I realized maybe this is not what I should have chosen. It was a mistake what I did. Maybe I wanted to move towards education. Thankfully, I realized by end of first year of engineering. But what choice did I have? Everybody said, and I think they said it very wisely, finish off another 2 years so that you have your degree. You're doing well, you're scoring well, finish it off so that you have your degree. Then you can look at, you can do your B.Ed XYZ. Now, what is NEP saying? After 1 year, you want to change. I have studied mathematics, I have studied physics. Let's say I might need those things to do my B.Ed. So I take my credits from my first year of engineering. Those credits will be passed over to my B.Ed. And I take remaining credits from B.Ed. And after 2 years, I would not get my engineering degree, I would get a B.Ed degree. Doesn't it sound very, very whimsical? Or to start with, they want to give so much of choice to children that they make up their choices of their degree. The word what we used to say is BA in history. It was all very easy. He's a mechanical engineer. Those things will not exist. You need to go down very deep to ask. If you are doing an interview after 5-7 years, you need to ask, tell me precisely what subjects did you take in your degree? Because for all you know, somebody would have taken some subject of math, some psychology, something else. Is it good? I think it's great. Simply because children are able to choose what they like and do good in it. Most of us studied something very, very different from what we are using today. I hope everybody would nod for it. If we can do something radically other than what we studied, at least these children studied what they chose to. So they should be able to do far better. So from that angle, yes, it would move to skill-based society. Yes, madam. Next question, please.
Yeah. My next question goes to Mrs. Lakshmi, because we are talking a lot about skill and skill-based learning. So she has a question to ask. Yes, over to you, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Hope I'm audible to you.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a question, like, will students be able to analyze their marks cards? And also I wanted to ask, like, their learning for assessments, how it helps them in practical life?
Can you repeat learning for assessment?
How their learning for assessments help them in practical life, sir?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I'll take your last question as the first question.
Yeah, sure.
Learning for assessment, how will it help in their practical life? They want to move the assessment. Your question is on assessment, very assessment. It's a very beautiful question, and a lot of thought has gone in from NEP. Right now, assessment is purely happening on the skill of memory, on rote learning. That is what is getting assessed. All children get same question paper, same questions, and people who have probably by hearted and memorized the best would probably do the best. That is the current situation of board examination or any school's assessment. NEP is proposing that this assessment must be not only on memory, but should be on other skills as well. The child has to be scored and marked on other skills like, is a child creative? He is a child capable of collaborating with other students. Even other skills have to be assessed. So the child also understands very quickly that if I need to score well, I need to be skillful. Because based on our goal post, we will start running towards it. So if our goal post itself says you need to have these skills, then we shall start acquiring these skills. Now, for example, if your child was scoring less, you would push and say, why are you scoring less in mathematics? But when you will see that your child's score in critical thinking is less, then what will you do as a parent? What will a teacher do? Will push the child towards critical thinking. If it is seen very evidently that the child's collaborative skill is very low, he is not a team player. He cannot win everybody's heart in doing something. And if the scores in the collaborative skill is low, then you as a parent also get an alarm, the student gets an alarm, teacher gets an alarm that we need to work on his collaborative skills also now. So the assessment is for practical life because the skills are getting assessed for the first time. So the report cards will not remain the same, which will talk about scores of math, social, science, English, Kannada. If you have recently seen the report card of Chitrakoota itself, which is very much in line with NEP, we conduct unit projects, 5th standard and above, largely. Right now, we have implemented 5th and above, largely, where we assess the child based on his skills, and the teacher would write elaborately saying which skill is he good at, which skill he must probably work on. Content management. If the child is copy pasting material from internet, then he's not managing the content. He's not processing the content. That is also a skill needed in today's generation. So all these things will be assessed. The report card will look with a lot of graphs. That's why our report card right now is a very much in line with NEP 5th and above, where we talk in detail about each skill, not just the scores. NEP talks about 360-degree report cards, where not only the teachers evaluate, not only the subject, but also the skill, but beyond that, the student must self-assess himself or herself. That means the student must say, maybe I could have done better, or maybe I don't like it. So the child start analyzing himself or herself in the report card. It should be published. Not only that, the peer reporting also they're talking of. What does it mean? A friend must tell me what he feels about me. How do you like that? A friend must tell me what does he feel about me, so that I start seeing from my peers' perspective. You know, when you grow up, you go to job and maybe you're not very popular among people because you're not a good team player. Maybe you're a great achiever, but not a team player. That is because you're not able to see from others' perspective. How are they seeing things? How are they seeing you? You are not aware of it. So when at the very early age of, let's say, 4th standard, the child, in fact, let me give my own example. I was a very, very, very big bully. Even then, if I have to joke, I was a very big bully. But the thing is, till very recent, last decade, I didn't know I was a good bully. If only today my good friends tell me, oh, you were such a big bully, man. If only they had an opportunity to say that, if they would have had it long ago, maybe I would have started working and being a better human being way back then. I lost that opportunity because I never got the feedback. So I had to learn my lessons in the hard way. So NEP is promoting 360 degrees of assessment so that the child gets a better perspective. It's going beyond marks and trying to talk subjectively, lines to say. If you look at our report card, one beautiful thing we have done. A child who has scored 85, if the child was more capable, then the subject teacher would say the child can do better in spite of having got 85. And the child who is not very capable in mathematics, if he scores 70, we may say you've done an excellent job. Because for that child, that's an excellent job. So the child is made to compete against himself, then against others. So the assessment pattern is going through a huge change. It has to. Everything starts from the end. So if the end assessment is changed, I think the process will automatically change. That's why they are changing the board exam first. Once the board exam changes, the learning pattern will also change accordingly. Thank you, Mrs. Lakshmi, for the question. Can we go to the next one, please?
Thank you, sir.
I think we have 9 more minutes. We can tailor make our talk accordingly.
Yeah. Next question been asked by many parents, namely Archana Sharma of RPCM3 parent, and then I think Abhyukt of 3rd standard parents. But here I have Mrs. Anupama, Chinmay's mother of 6th standard, can ask the question. I think all the questions are all in same tone. So Anupama, please go ahead. Yes.
I think you're audible. Please go on.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
So my question is, as the NEP has been rolled out, do we still continue to have the state syllabus, CBSE syllabus, and ICSE syllabus separately?
Yes. Answer is very clear. Yes. Yes, we will continue to have this and many more. The very idea is, one is the nativity of, the flavor of native state should be retained. Each state has its own flavor that has to be retained. So state syllabus would continue in every state. Every state has its own objective. And CBSE, ICSE will also continue for sure, simply because they are just implementing bodies of the national education policy. Whether you call it Indira Gandhi University or you call it CBSE, whatever, all of them are executive bodies of NEP, National Education Policy. So each of them will adapt themselves, adapt the NEP in their process, in their proceedings, in their activities, and reach out NEP to every student and every adult. So the answer is yes, all of them will remain. All of it will look alike, look similar, but everything will act very differently. Each of them will adapt it in their ways and they will go ahead. Thank you for that question. Can you take the next one?
I think next question is almost like a concluding question asked by Mrs. Archana Sharma and Mr. Prashant Desai and now Sunaina and Raksha's mom, Mrs. Jayashila. So I would like to ask Mrs. Jayashila to ask the question, pose the question.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Very good evening.
What could be the first few change we can expect in Chitrakoota and by when?
What is the first few change you can expect and when? So let me take this opportunity to first talk about what all have we already, how all are we in line with NEP already. The tremendous amount of priority what we have for Montessori method of education. For the last 17 years, Chitrakoota is sweating to ensure to leverage the most out of pre-primary students, because we know they are the most capable human beings we have in the entire Chitrakoota. Considering the teachers and principal and 10th standard students, considering everybody, pre-primary are the most capable, and we are trying to leverage the best out of it by giving the best practice of having Montessori. Though recently NEP has taken up bringing pre-primary into the folds of education, we have been very scientific in knowing the importance of it. The 3-language formula, we start all the way from pre-primary itself to tell a little. Because of the Montessori premise, what we had, we have always been activity-based school. So to a very large extent, in first, second standard and things like that, we have had activities, a lot of activities. In fact, a lot of them say it's all the time one or the other activities happening. Where is the child learning? It is while doing the activity, the child is learning something, not necessarily that has to be assessed. That's why we fill up ourselves with so much of activity. If you even look at yesterday's activity, when we did our Independence Day, every section did so much of activity, so many talks, so many presentations. That's exactly what NEP is moving towards, rote learning to activities. Fifth standard and above, we have, right after the NEP was released, we have moved towards skill-based assessment, where we have started unit projects. So this unit project was implemented this year to assess child's skill. Honestly, we were not assessing it all these years. We were doing a lot of activities, a lot of projects, exhibitions, but we never used it as an assessment tool for obvious reasons, because the education policy was not promoting it. Now we are using unit projects where we are trying to assess the child's ability, skills, and try to put it in the report card. Having used the word report card, our report card has largely changed in the angle of NEP. That is something very, very evident. If you have observed, we have moved to making the child write his own notes. That is something newly, slowly we are trying to push. What is it for? That is to say that move away from rote learning and put your own understanding onto the paper. So we are trying to move towards that. And our report card is very, very colorful with a lot of graphs, trying to give a lot of clarity. In fact, our last parent-teacher meeting itself was to make parents understand how to read different skills of their own child. So that amount of importance we are given to skill. Well, these are quite a few low-hanging fruits what we were able to deliver. Our concentration in midterm examination is moving slowly away from rote learning and moving towards higher order thinking. You will slowly see that our question papers will be less asking memory-based question, more asking understanding-based question. And one of the biggest implementation is probably we doing series of talks and series of such webinars to keep the parents, children, and teachers on the same plane. And one other big implementation, what we have done is we've been going through a huge training for teachers, because the BEd was under an old education policy. So we are grooming our teachers to the new education policy for over 3 months now. We've been trying to have a lot of discussion, because this is a big change and it will happen slowly, but it must steadily happen. Well, these are few changes which we have done. What is that we can expect was your question. Said and done, we are the bottommost implementation sector in the NEP, in the sense above us is the board, above us is the university, above that, and the NEP, the policy forming thing. As and when things change from top, it penetrates down and we implement it. We are moving towards semester-based examination. So by spirit, our understanding, our propagation, our orientation is at par to NEP. But implementations, when exactly what will happen depends on the board. Some of them might happen in few months, some of them might happen in few years. So each will vary. But we would be the first one to grab anything which is good for child. Because the very purpose of our existence is to do the best we can for students at any cost. So whatever good comes out as a practical implementation from the board whenever, in few months and few years, we are looking forward to grab it. Why is that we brought in so many changes so quickly? We have always been very scientific and we always knew this is the right thing to do. It is just that the policies were not supporting us. Today, we have the national education policy backing us up to accelerate us to move for this change. So you can definitely expect a lot of changes to happen, and a lot of such orientation would happen to parents, which has started from the last parent-teachers meeting, and we will go on. I think the next 2 years will be filled with changes. Every parent and every student will go on coping with new things, which is only good, which is only going to make things better, which is not going to create any anxiety. But anything new would ask for learning. So having answered this question, I think we have run out of time. So I would request Principal Madam, could we close it? If yes, can you give a Thanksgiving, please?
Thank you, sir. It was really, quite enlightening. And we know that with small steps, we will be able to adopt the huge umbrella of NEP. And to begin with, it's just the conclusion, what we have understood from today's meeting, that yes, Chitrakoota is totally ready to implement NEP. And I should not say totally ready to implement. We have already implemented NEP. And if we go to any CBSE website, all of us, we can see that they are saying that it is 1 year over. So though we are totally proactive in our state to adopt and to go ahead with our projects and our new vocabulary, our skill-based learning, our children know about knowledge management, higher order thinking, collaboration, cooperation, all these things. A fifth standard child also, they know now, because they're doing the projects and they themselves are understood how to read a report card. Even our Montessori children, our junior class, 1st to 4th standard, they are also learning a lot of things through activity based. And the value-based questions are always open-ended. It is, everywhere from 1st to 10th standard, question papers are having those things. And upcoming midterm exams are also, the question papers will be according to those kind of new system, new ideas. We are definitely changing from quantitative learning to qualitative learning, and that will change the mentality of the child to understand what is their responsibility. Yes, we understand that online teaching, online learning been a difficult part of their life, but I believe that our children are cooperating to their level best. It is us, we adult, we need to be there to support and understand what is this policy all about, how each child can be benefited. If only we can be with them, understand how to help them the way they need it best, necessary and sufficient. These two words need to be remembered. Thank you, sir. Thank you, all the children present today. Thank you, all the parents present today. Hopefully, this will be a miracle step, first step for our national change of education.
Thank you. As a closing, I would like to say that there are a lot of videos which I have personally put in the Facebook and YouTube on NEP, because it's such a big thing that a lot of series of videos I've been posting every other week. So people who are interested to know more can feel free to see those videos. I'm sure that would be worth it. They're very short videos of just 5 minutes or 6 minutes, so that when you have time, you can understand a little more deep on NEP. Thanks a lot for joining with us. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.